Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Jen Sugarmeyer, your host of Mindset in the Morning. We are live here 5 days a week at 6 a.m. Central Standard Time, but because it's YouTube, you can watch whenever you want. And Mindset in the Morning is all about digging into the mind and understanding the 6 inches that are in between our ears, because that controls everything. It controls how we see the world. It's the difference between looking at something as a failure or as opportunity. It's the difference of the glass is half full or the glass is half empty. Or as my friend Dean says, I'm just glad there's anything in my cup at all. But those millimeter shifts that are in our mind, that is the power that we have to take ourselves, put ourselves into the driver's seat and have the life that we want, because we control how we show up. And the truth is that when we let our minds do whatever it wants, a lot of times it's not leading us in the direction that's in favor for us, meaning it often knows only, not often, it only knows what it knows. And so sometimes it's taking us into a direction that is keeping us safe. It's keeping us playing small because it doesn't know what's on the other side of that wall that you're trying to climb. It doesn't understand where you're trying to go. And so it's saying, stay back here, stay back here. And so it keeps you small in your own world. And a lot of times it can take you to a negative space as well. And I mean, how often do we get a call from our boss and our boss says, "Hey, can you stop by?" And we go, "Uh-oh, what did I do?" Or your spouse calls or your child calls, "Uh-oh, what happened?" And you get this terrible feeling in the gut of your stomach and the pit of your stomach, and you think, "Oh my gosh, what's going on?" When in reality, maybe your boss just wants to congratulate you for something that you did really well. But our brains are, they're keeping us safe. Uh-oh, we don't know what's happening. So we think that it's better to just live in fear or whatnot. And so we find ourselves in these states of suffering, which suffering is something that we create. So that's why we talk about the mind, so that when you go out into the world, I could go down more and more rabbit holes here. But as we go out into the world, I want you to be the most powerful version of yourself and understand what your brain, what your mind may be telling you is the right way to go. But you, because you are now in the driver's seat and not allowing your brain to just run amok, you now take control and say, "Okay, I respect and I honor and I appreciate you. We're going to go this way." So I want to talk this week about what is keeping us playing small. So this topic was prompted by this article that I saw. A woman by the name of Sharon Burns. She's a principal in Canada somewhere. And she was seen at a concert, at an Iron Maiden concert, and she was, doing the horns or whatever you want to call these. This is kind of the iconic rock symbol where you put your pinky and your pointer. Boy, I had to think about what these fingers were. I've never thought about I haven't thought about what my fingers all were for a long time. My pinky and my pointer, and that's kind of an iconic rock symbol. I use it in my pictures all the time. And I saw this article where, so she's a principal of this high school, and parents are wanting her to be removed because she listens to heavy metal music. And so as I saw this, and, I was just last week, I spent 2 days in Sacramento, and I was at a rock heavy metal concert. It was a festival. And so I saw this and I thought, how judgmental of these parents, and how much are they holding themselves back because they are putting energy into this woman. So I wanted to unpack this and how we are keeping ourselves playing small when we're judging each other, and then for us to become aware of it, because it really does hold us back. So let's go ahead and unpack what this looks like for Miss Sharon. So when we are judging others, do we even have all the facts? So the first thing that came to my mind is how small-minded of these parents to think that heavy metal is bad music. And we always talk on this show about how we need to dig down to the root of what our beliefs are. And clearly the parents believe that heavy metal music is evil music. It also means that you are a bad person. There's probably some other beliefs that are happening there as well. So I was just at this rock concert, and Skillet was one of the bands that I listened to. And Skillet is, and so everybody, in the crowd raising their pinky and their pointer, and we're having a good time. Skillet's actually a Christian band. And I saw some of their awards up on the wall when I did this interview when I was in Nashville, and it was a Christian company called Fair Trade. They do their marketing, and all the various Christian bands were there on the wall. So I can corroborate that they actually are affiliated with Christian publishing and marketing companies. And so they're Christian. I wonder if the parents knew that there was actually Christian music, Christian metal. Another one that came to mind is I did an interview it was about a week or so ago. I interviewed the lead singer from a band called Prison. And when you look at this gentleman, his name is Johnny Crowder, and he's got tattoos everywhere. He's even got a tattoo by his eye, and he sings really heavy metal. It's almost like borderline death metal, like really, really, really heavy. And the interesting thing is there is no cursing. There is nothing vulgar in his words. And we talked about this in the interview. So if you watch, it'll be coming out in Recovery Today magazine. We talk about these things. So no cursing, nothing vulgar, and it's all mental wellness that he talks about, mental wellness, mental health. And the reason, so Johnny has had a lot of his own mental health struggles, and so he keeps it all really real. And it was such a phenomenal interview. He was talking about how, the fans, they write him notes or reach out to him and say, thank you so much for your words. I reconnected with my family after I, went to your concert. I was just so inspired, yada, yada, yada. And I'm not making this up. So this is this is like really, really hardcore metal music. And by the way, Johnny was just written up in Forbes for being one of the top mental health advocates. So if we're going to look and judge heavy metal music, let's have the facts, people, that there are Christian bands, that there are mental health advocates, that there are singers and bands that say, I don't want cursing, I don't want vulgarness, I don't want any of that. So to lump everything together is really small-minded. So we need to get down to our beliefs and say, what do we believe when we are judging people? So this is kind of where this all came to a head, and the reason I want to talk about this today. But do we even have all the facts? And a lot of times we don't. We make this judgment based off of what we believe something should be happening, which is a control issue, I would say, that many people have. It can even be as minor as seeing someone who's parked in two spots. That person that goes to park and they're cockeyed and they take up two spots, and you're like, what an idiot, doesn't know how to park. I don't know, maybe the person had a UTI and his or her bladder was about to pop, and they're just lucky they made it into the spot, or maybe they had diarrhea or whatever, and they did the best that they could, but they were about to explode. And P.S., I've been there where it's just like, I don't even care. Just please get me to the bathroom. Okay. So when we are judging, we have this level of control over other people, that we believe something should be done a certain way, or we believe that a situation should be or not be a certain way. And we've got these ideas. We believe that everybody should park a certain way. Yeah, true. But what if we believed, to my next point, what if we believed if everybody was doing the best that they could with the information and the time that they had? What if that was the case? I mean, we are all on our own individual journeys, We are. And we're all at different places. And yet 8 billion of us are crammed into this world together. And we're existing and doing the best we can to get by. Now, granted, there are some people that, yeah, let's have a little more character development. Okay. But maybe they don't realize the impact that they're having. Maybe they don't see other things because they've allowed life to happen to them because they're not in the driver's seat of their lives. Think about some time in your life where you could have done better, but you figured that out after the fact. Isn't that what life is all about? Us just learning and growing as we go? I mean, we don't know everything from the get-go. So why don't we look at children and hold them to the same standards as an adult, for example? Oh, well, they're just kids. They don't know any better, right? That's why in the law, like, you can't hold a child responsible in the same way that you would an adult. There are different laws for, murder and all the things, right? So there are different laws because they're minors, and we don't expect them to have the maturity that you might. I'm going to say might, because just because you're an adult doesn't mean that you're mature, but you've had more time to think through things. So hopefully you're a little further along than these children. But we don't hold them to the same standard because they're not there yet. So we're all in this game of life, and we all are influenced by different, where we live, the people we hang around, the country we're in, the people in our space, how we grew up, our parents, our friends, all these external factors are influencing us. And somebody that was very privileged and living in Hollywood, I don't know, is going to have a very different life than someone who had, parents that smoked crack and lived in the hood. I mean, they're going to have two very different outlooks on life. It doesn't mean that one is better or worse. It just means that they have their own journey that they have to do within themselves. It doesn't mean that the person that grew up in the hood can never have values and morals, and it doesn't mean that at all. Now, they may have some more challenges to navigate through because they grew up, with a society and a culture that, maybe stealing was more prevalent. And so that seemed like the norm, but we don't know. Everybody's coming from a different perspective. The person that grew up in the hood, they might think that it's okay to steal food because growing up, that's all that they knew. And in order to eat, that's how they had to eat. I'm not saying it's right. What I'm saying is everybody's different and we don't know their backstory. Do we have all the facts of every single story, of every single situation? So when we're judging, I mean, there's 8 billion people. Granted, you're going to come around, a small, not even a percentage, just a tiny, tiny amount of people you're going to come across. So, but how are we going to know all these backstories? It's that iceberg. What's under the ocean? You don't know what it is for everybody. But what if we just assumed that everybody was doing the best that they could and they're on their own journey? So yeah, maybe it wasn't the best idea for this person to steal food, but that's all that they knew. And they have to learn and they have to grow because that it's not okay to steal food. But they're on that journey. They're on their own journey. You're on your own journey. So do we have all the facts? And what if we started to look at everyone and said, wow, they're doing the best that they could with the information that they had. And it doesn't mean that it's going to be the same information that you have. It's the information that they have. And in their heart, they thought, man, this is the best that I knew that I could do. Here's a small example. So I always go to the same counter. When I go into the airport, I check in at the same place. I've always just walked in confidently, and there was that. This last time when I flew out last week, and I didn't think there was anything wrong with it because I have status with the airline. So I just walked in right there. This last time, I thought I saw a sign that said for airline employees only. And so all of a sudden, I started to have this like, oh, shoot, am I doing something wrong? But before, I thought I was in the place where the platinum pro and the, people with status go. But then I saw the sign that said employees. I've done this. I couldn't tell you how many times. So I thought I was doing the best that I could with the information that I have. Now I have different information. So I actually have to go back and read that sign. But it's things like that. Like other people may look at me and say, look at her. She thinks she can. No, I honestly thought that I was in the right line. Now that I know different, because when you know better, then you do better. So now I need to go check out the sign. And if that's not the right place for me to be, then I need to figure out where it is. But for whatever reason, they've let me through every single time. But my point is, I did the best I could with the information I had. And now I know different information. So now I may plan differently. All right, let's keep going through this list. When you are judging people, you are training your brain to find the bad in other people, which means you're just training your brain to find the bad in everyone, including yourself. So why don't we start to look for the positives in people instead of the negatives? And then you too will also find that within yourself, you are going to be finding the good within yourself. You train your brain to go and it will start to repeat. If you want to look for the bad in everybody, you'll look for the bad. If you want to look for the good, then you'll find the good. And it's not just in people that you'll find it in everything. You'll start to live in more gratitude. You'll find, the joy in the small moments and learn to be present. But if we're looking for the bad, then we are just dumping negativity on our life. It's like psh, 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 the salt shaker. Just keep pouring, keep pouring. It's not going to stop. So train your brain in the way that you want it to go. So if you want to look for the bad, fine, great. Keep doing that. But I would suggest that we break that habit, because that's what it is. It becomes a habit. I was in this habit for a long time. Somebody would cut me off. I'd be like, you're a jerk. And that was just my habit. That would happen. I would react. They'd cut me off. I react. That's how it was. I had to train my brain for these people to cut me off and me not to react. Okay, no, that's fine. Maybe they have a legit reason for driving like a maniac. Just had to let it go. And we talked about control, and I don't want to get into that too much because we're going to talk about control in another day, but I'm controlling the way that I believe that they should be driving. It's a huge issue. So we're going to talk about that a little bit here in another couple of days. And lastly, okay, so this time that you're using to spend on other people, why aren't you spending that on yourself? Why are we so concerned about what other people are doing? You know why you're playing small? Because you only have so much time and energy, and you have made the decision that you're going to take your precious time, your precious energy, and put it into all of these other people. Why? Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. Improve your life. Focus on what you need to improve on, because guess what? You're not perfect either. None of us are. So focus on what's going to make you happy and make your life, better, and how you get to be the person that you want to be. Stop worrying about these other people. Do you have all the facts? Why are you training your brain to look at the negative things? What if everybody's doing the best that they could with the information that they had? And don't you want to take that time for yourself? That's when you're going to start to see your life grow, because we're all just seeds at all points of our life, and we need water. We need to be taking care of ourselves. If we're watering everybody else, then your seed isn't going to grow. So I'd encourage you as you go out today, and judging doesn't look like one way. It is everything. Like I said, it could be judging somebody for how they park. It could be judging somebody for how they drive. It could be judging your coworker or your spouse or your kids or that teacher that was doing the rock thing, which, by the way, let's normalize this. Okay. So I think people think that these can be devil horns, but they also which maybe, okay. But they also, I do this all the time. If this just meant devil horns, there is no way on God's green earth that I would be putting my horns up, because that doesn't align with who I am. So, and you can research this because I made sure to research this last night. The horns also mean, heck yeah, you got this. Yeah, you go. It's just one of those like, yeah, all in. Ah, it's just like us saying words like woohoo. It's the same. So this woman in her picture had her horns up in front of an Iron Maiden sign, and that's why they want her to be removed. So Sharon Burns, you have my full support that I believe that this is ignorant, small-minded thinking. And I would encourage everybody, I would encourage you as you are going out into the day, just start to become mindful of where you might be judging. Because when I started to pay attention, I realized I was judging a lot more than I had ever realized. I never even thought about it. And when I started to become aware of it, then I could change it. That's the first step, is to become aware. So go out today and become aware of where you're starting to do these and start to get control of those thoughts instead of life just happening to you. So with that, we're going to end today. We are talking about this week about being small-minded and how we can get past that. So we know that that judging is going to keep us playing small. So if you've not yet hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. And if you know somebody that would be of massive value from hearing this message, pass it along to them as well. All ships rise with the tide. So, and the more subscribers that we have, the more that this gets in front of other people, which we know people need mindset now more than ever. So I will see you back here, same time, same place tomorrow. Love you. Have a great day. Be mindful of judging. I'm telling you, it is everywhere. It is everywhere. Even I catch